Well, good morning, and here we are. It's Sunday, and very early in the morning, getting ready to get to church or get online for a church service. And we're finishing up Hosea chapter 12. We're looking at the complaints that God is pouring out against the people of Israel. He's sharing his heart. Now, if God complained all the time and that's all he did, that's a pretty negative situation to get around. But God lays out proactively what his desire is, what his hopes are for his people. And then, through the mouth of the prophets, those that he brings close to himself, he reveals the sinfulness of the prophet, the sinfulness of the people, and the bold and strong contrast between himself and his tender mercies, and his great love, and his great provision, and the way that they have responded. It's embarrassing. It's downright shameful. And so this is why the prophets spend so much time talking to the people about their sin, because it's the way they have offended the great, magnanimous, and loving heart of God. So let's move on and jump right in then. And we'll just look at the final two verses. The Lord used a prophet to bring Israel up from Egypt. Who was that? Moses. By a prophet, Moses, he cared for him. So there was provision of food, provision of quail. So it was at the interaction between God and a prophet that there was leadership brought into the life of these wild things that came out of Egypt. But Ephraim, now there's a contrast. That's the way it was when they came out of Egypt. But here's the contrast. But Ephraim, here we go again. He's dealing with Ephraim. But Ephraim, that princely tribe, that descendant of Joseph the dreamer, the one that had been used to keep Israel safe in Egypt and to actually spare the whole world. But Ephraim has aroused his bitter anger. His Lord will leave on him the guilt of his bloodshed and will repay him for his contempt. Now, we really have two choices, and that is to respond to the Lord in some way. And even if we go into captivity, return to humility and be turned around and refurbished and renewed. Or to stay stubborn, to say, I've got this, I know what I'm doing, don't tell me what to do. And then have to confront the guilt of what we have done and go through the full payment of it. That's a much longer payment plan, and the payments are much bigger and much deeper. We are so much better off. And Ephraim would have been so much better off if instead of leading Israel, the northern tribes, into deep idolatry, recognizing and realizing the error and sin of his ways, looking back over the past, just looking back to the first of the tribe, the one who gave rise to them, Joseph, and his nature, his character, and how he dealt with things and how wise he was. And so by being overly stubborn, by resisting the Lord, by stiffening his neck, Ephraim has brought about a bitter anger. And now he's going to have to contend with guilt and pay for the price of his contempt. This is a clue that the heat is going to be much higher, and the length of the time in the furnace is going to be much longer. And the reason is because of Ephraim's resistance. And so this would be a good time to think about this. It doesn't do me any good to resist the Lord or to try his long-suffering nature. It's best to come early, to repent early, and to turn early, rather than to wait until it's too late and we put ourselves in a position where it's kind of baked in, and it's going to take a long time and generations to get it back out again. The Lord doesn't give up entirely, but it sure changes the rules of engagement, doesn't it? So you and I would be best served to repent early and often, rather than to wait late and pay a heavier price. Lord bless you as you consider about that in the light of God's love and tender mercies. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow as we go into Hosea 13. We're almost done. 2 more chapters.